if I told you that you can be charged with first degree homicide, be currently incarcerated, denied pretrial release multiple times, and still have your legal defense fully paid for, even with a power attorney? Oh, I'm not talking about by your family, not even by fundraising, but by a company you signed up with before the shooting ever happened. I'm not talking about guilt or innocence. We're going to stick with the pretrial phase for now. Today we're talking about the real legal mechanics behind CCW insurance, how it works in Illinois, and whether it has anything to do with proving or disproving self-defense. First, let's clear up any confusion. CCW insurance is not required in the state of Illinois. To legally carry a concealed weapon in Illinois, you need a concealed carry license or CCL. And to obtain a CCL, you're required to have firearms training, legal instruction on use of force laws. You have to undergo fingerprinting and background checks, and specific instruction about what to do after a defensive shooting, including calling 911. Court records state that Cadia Johnson did in fact have a valid CCL when she shot and killed Romeca Blackmon during the early morning hour on Monday, September 8th. Police records show that Cadia Johnson did not call 911 at any point on September 8th. And according to Cadia's family, she was going to be hiring the best attorney that money could buy. That money was not an issue at all because, and I want to get this quote right, that Holly is good. They also revealed that Cadia Johnson purchased CCW insurance. Now, mind you, CCW insurance is a separate purchase. It's optional, it's voluntary, and it covers all attorney fees and legal expenses without limits because there's no cap. One of the most talked about companies in this space is CCW Safe. Now, this isn't a sponsored video, so please know that I'm not plugging them or any particular company for that matter. But I want you to know that these companies advertise that if you're involved in a self-defense shooting, they will hire and pay your criminal defense attorney. CCW Safe actually has a network of attorneys that you can choose from. They fund expert witnesses, they cover investigation costs, they pay for pretrial and trial expenses, and they even assist with bail. CCW Safe will pay for bail up to $1 million. That probably won't be necessary in Cadia Johnson's case, but you have to admit it's one heck of a perk to have, right? And CCW Safe has a defense plan that claims that there is no cap on defense costs. Now that's huge, because a homicide defense case can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes over $500,000. But wait, there's more. Even if you're arrested and charged with first-degree murder, CCW Safe said they'll pay all legal costs, whether you're found guilty or not guilty due to self-defense. Now, I'm not going to lie. Cadia Johnson did her big one with the CCL insurance. Now, whether she was actually planning or preparing for this event, she crossed her T's and dotted her I's by getting that insurance. It's really self-defense liability insurance, and Cadia has claimed self-defense in the killing of Romeca Blackmon. These kinds of companies like CCW Safe, they aren't traditional insurance like in the auto policy sense. They tend to operate as membership-based legal defense plans, or they have insurance/legal service structures. Some companies will reimburse you later, but other ones, like the plans advertised by CCW Safe, will assign attorneys immediately and they pay directly. And what that means is if a member is arrested and charged, legal representation can start right away, even while the person is incarcerated. And what's key is the contract is not based on the charge itself. It's based on the claim of self-defense. Chess move. Now, Let's zoom into Illinois law for a second, and I've actually covered this in one of my earlier videos on this topic. Under Illinois Statute 720 ILCS 5/7-1, a person is justified in using deadly force if, number one, they reasonably believe that force is necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm, or, number two, to prevent the commission of a forcible felony. Reasonable belief means that the threat must be immediate, that the response must be proportional, and that the belief must be objectively reasonable, not just emotionally felt in the moment. If prosecutors believe the force was excessive or not necessary, that's when they charge. And that's exactly what happened in the case of the state of Illinois versus Cadia Johnson. Once the case makes it to trial, then a jury will decide. CCW insurance doesn't change Illinois self-defense law. It doesn't lower the legal standard, and it certainly doesn't expand your right to shoot. All it does is essentially fund your legal defense. Insurance coverage has zero impact on whether or not a shooting qualifies as lawful self-defense. Hell, the statute doesn't care who pays your lawyer. But from a defendant's point of view, not having to come out of pocket or sell the family home is one heck of a trade-off for a mere $200 a year. Now here's where we get into intense public debate. Some people might ask, if someone had CCW insurance before the shooting, doesn't that show planning? And the answer to that question is legally, no. Millions of firearm owners purchase coverage for their financial protection, and courts don't treat insurance ownership as evidence of an intent to kill. Premeditation requires proof that the intent to kill was formed prior to the act, and there was reflection, even if only for a brief moment. Illinois CCL courses instruct that you call 911 immediately after a defensive shooting. They tell you to request police and medical assistance. They instruct you to provide minimal identifying information. Well, Quadajah did get that part right. And finally, you're instructed to ask for an attorney before giving a detailed statement. So if someone does not call 911 right away, prosecutors may question that decision. But again, questioning behavior is not the same as proving guilt. So what we see right now in this pretrial evidentiary phase, investigators look at and attorneys present as evidence phone records, surveillance footage, forensic reports, gunshot residue, DNA evidence, and more. And that's exactly what took place at the March 3rd status hearing for Cadia Johnson. The hearing mainly focused on the progress of discovery and evidence exchanges between the prosecution and the defense. We can expect many more status hearings to take place between now and the trial date if this case actually makes it to trial. It looks like this case is being heard every 30 days in criminal court. The next status hearing is scheduled for April 1st, and that's no joke. April 1st is approximately 30 days after the March status hearing. Prosecutors have successfully opposed pretrial release multiple times, and the judge has sided with the prosecution each time, stating that he believes that Cadia Johnson is a threat to public safety, and that placing her on electronic monitoring won't mitigate that at all. So what's the big takeaway here? CCL insurance is a financial shield. It's not a legal shield, and you can expect attorney Ari Williams to be pulling out all the stops along the way. She's going to keep making objections, filing motions, filing appeals, and anything else she believes will help her client get the best legal defense that money can buy. It's almost as if she received a blank check to defend this case. And listen, sis is in her bag. Concealed carry weapon or self-defense liability insurance can pay for the most elite attorneys, forensic experts, and trial preparation no matter how long it takes. But it cannot rewrite Illinois law, convince a jury, override evidence, or redefine what reasonable belief means. The success of a self-defense claim in Illinois will ultimately hinge on whether deadly force was truly necessary, whether the threat was imminent, or whether the response was proportional, and whether the jury believes that narrative. So y'all can prepare to get sick of seeing attorney Ari Williams and her courtroom theatrics. She's being paid top dollar to show up and show out. And to that I say, run it up, sis. Whether or not Quadajah's use of deadly force was justified is where this case will ultimately rise or fall. One thing for certain, we're in for a long ride. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who can use this message. Let me know your thoughts in the comment about Cadia Johnson and her decision to purchase insurance for her CCL. Then meet me in the comments. We can continue the conversation there.